Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is the Commando Cast, a video cast about all things Star Wars Destiny. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando. Hello everyone, welcome to Dice Commando and the Commando Cast. I'm Andrew with you here as always. So it has been 8 months to the day since Destiny was announced to be no longer supported by product from FFG. And since FFG told us that Wild Horizons was coming as an OP kit, Wild Horizons being the 10th set of Destiny, was coming as an OP kit during the summer in physical form for us to kind of have that final send-off for the game. So obviously, we were expecting it during the summer, and with everything going on in the world, I don't think anybody's surprised or offended or anything that hasn't come. But we have started to get other news for other games. Obviously, product supply chains are back open, and we still have no news on Wild Horizons, even though they did tell us that there was not going to be a Destiny world. So today I'm asking the question, when are we going to see Wild Horizons? Hello everyone, thanks for joining me again for, as we go through a question I think most of us have been wondering about, right? I think the majority of us have been patient, and rightly so. There's a lot been going on that's more important than cards and dice, and obviously, it was the right thing to do to delay OP and all that. But as time goes on and some other stuff has started to open up in terms of supply chains and stuff, I think it's reasonable for us to start to wonder, well, what's going on? Why don't we have an announcement for Wild Horizons? Why is everything just being quiet? So just to kind of recap really where we're at and go through the history here, right? So on the 14th of January, and I just realized it's actually not 8 months, it's 8 months plus 4 days. So sorry about that in the intro. But this is from the article The Saga Concludes, which was announcing the end of any formal FFG product support for the game. And, it says, as the game draws to a close, so does organized play, right? And this is just an excerpt. That's what you're seeing there on the left-hand side of your screen. So it says, aside from Worlds, which, of course, was originally scheduled in May, and again, no issues there, right? It was the right thing to do. It's saying one final kit is coming to local retailers near you, the Echoes of Destiny kit. So basically what this was is it was going to be a series of tournaments that you could... We don't know all the full details, but it was some sort of tournament or series of tournaments in which participants could earn themselves a copy of one card and one die of everything in Wild Horizons would be as part of that kit, right? And again, we don't know all the details or anything like that, but Wild Horizons is going to be the 10th set, the final official set, kind of a farewell tour for the game, whatever you want to call it, and it was going to be through your local game stores, and it was a very exciting prospect. We could kind of get our hands on the last thing, put a nail in the coffin of the formalized FFG support, and then move on from there. But obviously, COVID hit, and the world changed, right, and things had to be done. But about a month ago, a little less than a month ago at this point, we did get an update on COVID-19 and FFG organized play, which I think is great. They finally did officially cancel Worlds, as many of us are aware, which hurt. But going through this, there was no mention of Wild Horizons. What they did say is that all organized play is on hold until November time frame ish. At which point, I actually didn't think they said it was on. I think they said they'd reevaluate it then. Don't quote me on that. But it said store level organized play be able to start up December 1st. But that's any kit they've already received, right? More OP kits will start reaching stores in November, and again, that's an FFG timeline, so who really knows there? Because, we've seen their organized play, they change their objectives or their plans or whatever pretty frequently, so a bit again, and again, maybe November's not the right time, and they change their mind, but at least November is a time when we can start looking for more info. But again, we didn't see any Wild Horizons info out of that. So I think at this point, right, we've come out of it. Well, to be clear, we haven't come out of COVID, but my point is we've come out of the original lockdown, shutdown. We're finally getting we finally have news in the pipeline or something that represents that. There's new product. Things are out there. Things are moving. So I think at this point it's perfectly reasonable to like, all right, well, where's our Wild Horizons update? And I don't think anybody necessarily expects the product itself, but I do think it would be nice to kind of know what the heck's going on, right? Are we ever going to get it? Or are we not going to get it? So that's really what I want to go through today. Now that we're up to speed on what everybody probably knew already. So just one last thing, not one last thing. Before we get started, I do want to point out that at this point, there's certainly an argument to be made that no news is good news. And what I mean by that is that with everything else they have going on, Destiny's clearly not their top priority. I mean, I think that makes perfect sense, right? So this seems to be the type of thing that, like, if we decide to push on, or not to say they're going to listen to us anyway, right? But like, this is the kind of thing where, like, if we get aggressive on, or like we try to hold their feet to the fire or something about it, like, they're probably just going to give us the answer we don't want, which is that it's never coming, right? So at this point, there's still the theory of a promise out there that we're going to get it. Again, I don't mean that that's where we're going to get it, but I'm just saying at this point, no news is better. I'm saying no news is good news. It's not good news, but I'm just saying sometimes if you ask the question, you're going to get an answer you don't want. So that's kind of where my head is there. So, and then again, before we get started, the other thing we need to, not even within this conversation, but we just need to accept in life at this point is that no matter what, FFG will maintain the moral high ground. And what I mean by that is, at the end of the day, they're still going to be able to go home, go to bed, put their head on their pillow, and tell themselves that it wasn't their fault and they did a good job, right? And that's just the way it is. And that's not just from their standpoint, that's also from a legal standpoint, right? Like, let me get into it, right? FFG can blame everything on COVID. Every problem they had that they were going to have anyway, I mean, remember, we didn't have super high hopes on this kit to begin with, right? But even once we restart OP, FFG can, like, in November or whatever, they can just say, well, the window closed, or our factories are backlogged, or whatever, right? They can just blame everything on COVID and say, look, we had all these great intentions, great plans, and it just couldn't work, and it's COVID's fault, sorry, right? And there's nothing we can say about that. I mean, it's just we lose. And again, they won't feel bad at the end of the day, even from an employee. The individual that runs OP is not going to go home and be like, man, I really missed the mark on Destiny. He'd be like, well, not my fault, right? Margarita Friday, right? I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. The next one is, and I'll admit I kind of feel this way a little bit, but I've heard other rumblings in the community of it, and I don't think these people are wrong. There is I'm not saying this is what happened, but there is an argument to be made that the Wild Horizons announcement was timed to help them increase or ensure CM sales, and that failing to release it is a breach of said contract with the player base. So let me explain the theory. Again, I'm not saying that this is true, but the theory here being that when you announce you're killing the game, the fear would be that they were not going to sell a bunch of the last set because people are like, well, why am I going to buy a dead set, right? Which is reasonable. So I think the theory there was, hey, not the theory here, but the theory of the argument about what we're saying is that because they were afraid people were going to not buy enough and they didn't want to not sell it, they dangled a treat, they dangled a carrot of the summer saying, hey, we're going to have this tournament over the summer, you can win even more cool stuff, the coolest thing we've probably ever seen as a prize, you can win it. So there is an argument to be made that by doing that, they increase their CM sales by encouraging people, right, with that treat. And again, there's no contract, right? But you could there's an argument to be made for false advertising if they don't deliver. Now, again, I don't disagree with the fundamentals of that, or I understand the fundamentals of that argument, and actually I'd kind of been wondering it even before COVID hit. But at this point, right, let's say in Magical Fairyland, we say, you know what, we're gonna class action FFG. Again, this is Magical Fairyland, right? In Magical Fairyland, let's class action FFG for giving us false information so that we'd go buy product that we didn't otherwise want or need, right? Again, even if that were to somehow in Magical Fairyland go to court, even in Magical Fairyland, the judge would be like, it wasn't their fault, it was COVID, right? So morally, legally, everything, FFG just to push the escape button because of COVID, right? And we just need to remember that and accept that, right? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there before people get angry or whatever, however this conversation may go. So going into at this point, I want to talk about what I see as the options for Wild Horizons. And again, this is the options as I see them. Doesn't mean it's what FFG is going to do. And so I have three. So let's go through them, right? Number one is continue as planned, which is the OP kits, right? There's no reason, if this is their plan though, there's no reason for them not to communicate on this. Honestly, they don't even have to have a date. Because again, of COVID, they can just say, well, it's not our fault, it's COVID, right? They could, like, there was really, if they were still going to have it, right? If number one was going to happen, there's really no reason they shouldn't have, in that little article that they wrote. Well, I mean, I guess they didn't specifically speak to any game in that article, right? And again, that's fair. But we could very easily see an article saying, hey, this is coming. We don't know when it's coming yet because life's hard, but it's coming. Right, and there's really no reason for that not to have come because there's so much. They're going to sell these kits. They're going to make money off these kits. So like, there's still money on the line for them right there. So I don't know why they wouldn't do that. So I think one, if they do, again, I don't think one's a high probability. But I mean, it could be, right? They could do that. And it could be 3 years from now, right? They can ride code as long as they want, right? We're like, well, our factory's still backlogged, we have to catch up, right? They can ride it as long as they want. I mean, at some point they're going to cut bait, right? But right, option number two is direct sell to players, and this is predicated on the theory that I very much subscribe to, that the physical product already exists, right? So number two says direct sell to players. If it already exists sitting in a warehouse somewhere. If they don't want to go through the whole OP process and get it set up, they just direct sell the players. They could throw it on eBay, they could Kickstarter it, whatever. The problems of this are significant in that I don't know how you ensure equal opportunity, right? I mean, probably, like, let's say they do go this path, probably what they would do is they would give everyone who had bought a Worlds ticket a limited time to buy one or something like that, and then I don't know how you do the rest, right? I mean, the thing is, if they go this route, well, I mean, either one or two, you're going to see people selling these kits for $5,000 or thousands of dollars on eBay to start. It's just how it's going to work. So I don't have a proposal, but I think that this would be an extremely lucrative option for FFG, right? I mean, if they have the product made. And then, just to back up what I said, the reason we've talked about it many times over the last 8 months, right? But the reason that I believe that this product already exists somewhere is that when they were killing the game, like, they wouldn't just go to produce another set. Like, they'd either, maybe it didn't physically exist, but they had the money out for the contract to print it or something like that, right? They had some sort of skin in the game. They had some sort of financial investment in this that they wanted to still make money off it. I mean, they're not just doing it out of the good of their heart, right? So that's why I firmly believe that either there was a contract made for the product existed itself, or something, right? So, okay, so number one and two, both of them basically predicate on there being product already for them to make that decision, right? And then number three, and this would be my preferred option of all of them, right, is cancel Wild Horizons physically and release cards print and play style. I don't think anybody would blame them at this point. I don't think any single person out there in the world would blame these guys for just saying, hey, life is hard, COVID hit, it's out of our control, we're not going to do Wild Horizons, but as a thank you, here's the file, right? We promised the product was coming, which means the product's finalized, here's the files, right? So I think number three is so easy for them to do. There's no reason for them not to do that if they cancel, right? So, like I said, these are the three options as I see them. The fourth, I guess, is just not say anything. But I'm going on the positive spin of this, right? So if for Wild Horizons to make it in the wild, right? These are the 3 ways that it could happen. I guess that's the better way to say this, right? I think number 2 is probably the way that they would do it somehow if there is product and they want to make money off of it. But I think the best way is probably for them just to cut bait, try and maintain whatever shreds of good faith that they still have in the Destiny community, and give everybody the cards in print and play form. And I mean, on top of that, I would recommend that they send out the dice files too, which is unlikely, less likely. But at the very least, make a Facebook album and put the cards in it, and thank everybody for being so great over the last 3 years. We can all hug, make up, and walk away, right? I mean, isn't that really just the best way here? So that's the best option. So, like I said, the best options I see it is and that's why I talked about 2 and 3, right? If the product is already physically printed, sitting in a warehouse somewhere, they should do the direct sales method. Again, I would, if I was them, I would start with people who had bought Worlds tickets, and then I really have no idea how to go from there. Like, I don't. I don't know how to make it fair. And there really isn't a way to make it fair. There's not, right? So it's just going to be, I don't know. Maybe they sell so many to each store. But again, whatever their plan is, it's not going to work out that way, right? So that's what I'm saying is, like, if this stuff comes out physically, it's just going to be a shit show, and we're all going to be fighting with each other over it anyway. So, like, at this point, I just kind of want to go to option 3, right? And then, like I said, if product is not physically printed, they should just release the files, print and play, hug, and we'll walk away, right? So those are the options as I see them. And again, we don't know if it's physically printed or not. And in what I talked about earlier, like as far as the financial investment goes, like if, let's say they paid a $10,000, it's not the right numbers, right? But let's say they paid $10,000 to a Chinese factory for the right to produce these cards, and that's what they were going to proceed with. That was their financial investment. Maybe they call that a day. But maybe if they spent $100,000 to have all the dice printed, maybe then they do move forward, right? Like that. So there's too many ifs, then wins or buts to try to figure out what they're going to do. I'm instead just talking about what I would do and what I would like to see happen. And the ultimate what I'd like to see happen is option number 3, right? So unfortunately, the most likely outcome of this, as I see it, is that we're never going to hear from FFG about it at all. I think that's probably what's going to happen. Because what's going to happen here is if they come out and say it's not coming, it's almost certain somebody's going to leak it, as per we saw on this mystery product that had potentially been spoiled earlier this year. And again, remember, we are dealing with FFG here, and since it's easier to not act, and they can, like I said, they can still maintain the moral high ground no matter what they do, right? Because they just say, well, COVID, it's hard, Margarita Friday, right? So since it's easier for them to not do anything, and they can still feel good about it at the end of the day, I think it's highly likely they're just not going to do anything, right? That's just probably the reality of the situation. That doesn't mean that's what I want to happen. And if you're getting mad at me right now because I'm saying that that's the reality of the situation, I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. That's just how I see it. I hope it's not the case. I really don't. I would really love to get some of those big clunky dice and be able to roll them at the bar over beer. Like, that would be fantastic. I just don't know that that's realistic. So, that's pretty much it for today. But I just do want to do kind of a closing statement here, right? Remember that when the announcement was first made way back in January, before the world got all topsy-turvy and everything, even when the announcement was first made, there are very few of us in the community who actually believed that and maybe it's not proper to say we'd ever see it anyway, but I think that most of us believed that no matter what happened, it wasn't going to work out the way they said it was, right? So even if COVID had never hit, even if all this had never happened, there's a high likelihood we would have been fighting with each other over set dice. We would have been going out and seeing, some OP kit got sent to a store who never held the tourney, and now he's selling it for $2,000 online, whatever it may be, right? I mean, there's a high likelihood that would have been the case. So like I said, right, at the very least, assume unequal distribution or some sort of botched release as it was going to be, right? So if FFG's just done, walked away, we never hear from them again about it, we're probably still where or even better off than we expected to be. And like I said, it doesn't make it any less disappointing. It doesn't change the fact that I really would love to see the set and the dice, even if it's just virtually. I would just love to see it. I'd love the world over beer, but I don't know that that's ever going to happen. But my point is, it's just the truth of the matter, right? It doesn't make it any less disappointing, but it doesn't change where we are today. It doesn't change where we probably would have been anyway. So maybe we just count our blessings and move on. And I know that there's a lot in the community who have already done that, which is why we are now looking at an October release for some fan-made stuff, right? So I think everything's looking up for us. If we do see Wild Horizons in early 2021, fan freaking tastic, right? But anyway, so let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking as well. I know I've done my best here to maintain positive attitude. I mean, there's every right for people to be very frustrated about this. I personally don't, my personal emotions on it are pretty high. I mean, not like angry wise, but like I just don't understand why. I just don't understand, right? Like if they have it printed, sell it. If they don't, just save face and send us the files and call it a day. I mean, that's really it. So that's my thoughts. That's my advice. Not that I expect FFG to even listen or anything like that, but my thoughts are, whatever shred of anything you have with the community. I mean, these are people who are playing your other games. They talk about you as a company in many other forums, and this is a really good way to leave a good taste in everyone's mouth at the end. So anyway, let me know what you guys are thinking as well. If nothing else, go Commando.